want to talk about a new paradigm shift which Talview is very proud to launch. We are calling it Assessment Intelligent Operations Platform or AIOP, which is taking a single interview security approach to enterprise wide hiring risk management. Many of you are already familiar with Talview's patented industry first 7 layer framework for comprehensive interview security, where we tap into different hiring signals to ensure that we are staying on top of what's happening within an interview. But that kind of comprehensive approach has some gaps. A lot of data points which you're generating means that you end up with a lot of data overload, which requires a much better aggregation and visualization and real-time intervention. A lot of focus of 7 layer security is during the interview, how we can protect you when an interview is happening. But the kind of rich data which you're collecting could actually help you to many times proactively prevent risk with pre-interview risk analysis, as well as also continuously keep track of what's happening post-interview with a lot of data which we're collecting. And at an organization level, what we realized is there's a need for a unified trust view to understand where in the organization, where in the hiring process you are experiencing maximum risk, and take control of risk and address risk proactively. AIOP or Assessment Intelligence Operations Platform closes all three, powered by Talview's proprietary ontology, which borrows elite intelligence blueprints from cybersecurity, finance, and defense. And I'm very excited about this new launch. Before we jump into the details of AIOP, wanted to spend a few minutes as a quick refresher for the Talview's battle-tested 7 layer security framework. It is the most comprehensive approach to interview security and hiring security today in the market. It has everything from identity verification, ensuring that the candidate is not violating any interview rules using the primary camera, using a secondary camera to understand what's going on in their environment, ensuring that they are not running any of these AI assistance tools like Cluely or Final Round in their device by ensuring device security, continuously monitoring their responses, whether it's written or oral, for any form of uh, AI detection using tapping into their content feed, looking for any indication of OS prompts or other forms of OS-based cheating, including deepfake. And lastly, also ensuring that there are no flags for the candidate from their device, the IP, anything which we have previously seen as risk factors when it comes to hiring process. Now, AIOP sits on top of our 7 layer security framework. It takes all these 7 signals, but not just from one interview. It takes signals from across the hiring process, the application process, exams, multiple interviews, onboarding, all of that. Takes that into what we call a living ontology incident management engine, which essentially has all the learnings which Talview has gathered over the years from doing millions of interviews on the platform. And we have prepared a proprietary ontology, which rather than treating each event as an independent flag, which dilutes you with a lot of data, we actually use an incident management engine to flag real 100% trustable events, which is not just looking at what's happening in the interview, but also looking at what's happening in your organization across the borders, across geographies, across business units, functions, and also looking at some of the metadata which we have from across our customers and pulling that with existing non-fraudulent actor metrics, risk vectors, which we have curated from interviews over millions of interviews across multiple years. And we broadly break this into three different stages in the interview process. The first is the pre interview intelligence, where we are contextually risk profiling each candidate even before they show up. So we look for specific patterns which we have identified as prominent risk vectors in our candidate pool, which includes supporting high risk proxy clusters. So if you are seeing a particular type of IP or a device ID, or if you're seeing any IDs or any form of tampering with the identity proof which the candidate has submitted as a part of the application process, or if you're seeing that there are specific requests which are coming in from the candidate which has been associated with non-fraudulent actors, especially organized operators. We borrow a lot of these techniques from the financial fraud prevention market, and then ensure that we are applying some of those best practices into the hiring process, so that even before a candidate starts an interview, we are able to flag fraudulent actors, so you're not exposing yourself to any unforeseen risk even from an interview standpoint. The second stage, which all of you are, especially if you're a Talview customer, you're already familiar with, is the real-time signal fusion, which we provide. But it's now even better because it uses the living ontology which we have developed as a part of AIOP to fuse all the 7 layer signals into one single incident management dashboard, where you get high confidence multi-layer fraud signals, and you are not uh, being bombarded with all the noise. We've actually borrowed some of the best practices from cybersecurity intrusion detection for this, so that you are not having alert fatigue and you're only seeing the signals when it comes to our reports as a part of the interview security. And the last stage is the post interview graph analytics and network intelligence, where we are now bringing together all of this data. So if you have candidates who have successfully infiltrated your hiring process in the past with fraudulent means, if they have leaked your interview questions, your exam questions, if they have used any third party services, we we're taking some of the best practices from defense intelligence to bring all of that data together and give you a completely, uh, I would say, proactive approach to risk management, where we can help you trace where the risk vectors are within your organization. We can help you dismantle any specific organized hiring fraud which you're uh, being exposed to because somebody is specifically targeting your organization, and all of that with a risk management dashboard which flags everything which is going on in the hiring process, all the signals which Talview is collecting on your behalf, whether it's pre-interview, during the interview, and post-interview, and then give you a dashboard which looks at geography specific lens, function specific lens, and business unit function specific lens, so that you have a view on where you have risk within your hiring process in the organization, what's the level of exposure you have from a risk standpoint, and what proactive actions you can take to mitigate risk. So, for example, you might want to treat a particular hiring process which you're currently treating as low stake, consider more high stake because you're consistently seeing a lot of fraud attempts in that particular function, or you treat a specific uh, group of applicants, especially if they are group applicants who are using a specific IP or a specific device type. You can group and create specific rules for those set of candidates, so they are not able to circumvent any of these security practices which you want to follow from an interview standpoint. And you have complete protection, a complete hiring trust infrastructure which is protecting you and your organization from all forms of risk which is associated with hiring security and interview security threats. And the most important aspect of it, I already spoke about the ontology, and that's the key component here. Uh, AIOP, as everything else which Talview does, will is continuously evolving. There is significant amount of human override and expert insight to ensure that we are following the best practices when it comes to ethical use of AI, the ensuring that there is no bias which is coming into the entire incident management mechanism, how the ontology is developed and maintained. Every data point which you're collecting is feeding back into the living ontology. So every time we detect new forms of threats, you will see new forms of incidents within the report. And the detection mechanism itself, our entire uh, endeavor is to ensure that it's evolving faster than your threat. So the moment we see a particular form of risk with any of our customers or in any part of your organization, the best practices which we are implementing to detect and neutralize that threat, that is also being made available for every single interview which is happening on the platform. And these models are continuously retrained and adapted to specific use cases which you might have. So the entire AIOP's ontology encodes the collective purpose of every organization, every human interviewer, and then ensures that all the best practices across all of our interview users is being made available for every organization. So there is that cross organization coordination which we are facilitating, but without using any specific organization data and only relying on metadata to make this happen. In 2025, we named the problem of interview security and launched the 7 layer security framework to address that. In 2026, with AIOP, Assessment Intelligence Operations Platform, we are further strengthening the defense which we have against the evolving threat of interview security. AOP is not just an upgrade, it's a paradigm shift that enables every organization to put their best fight against the evolving threat of candidates using many of this fraudulent mechanism when it comes to the hiring process. So whether it's a CHRO or a VP of talent acquisition, or if you are a CIO or a CTO or an IT security leader, or you're a staffing partner or an IT managed services organization, or you are in the tier technology and compliance world, I believe you need to take this threat seriously, which all of you are. That's why you are here attending this summit, but also learn how some of this evolving uh, threat is compromising your organization's security and risking you. And at the same time, also understand how an approach like AIOP is going to put you in a better position to combat the risk and protect your organization.